Today we're going to be taking a look at the second part of the Toulmin model of argumentation. So last time we took a look at the claim, evidence, and warrant, and today we'll take a look at the second part of the triad so we can get closer towards being more analytical in our arguments, okay? And making those evaluations, right? So like last time, I'm going to give you the definitions of the second triad and give you examples along the way, all right? So let's get started. So the last time we took a look at the first triad of the Toulmin method, we took a look at, again, the claim, evidence, and the warrant. So this time we're going to be taking a look at three new things which sort of respond to the first part of the triad, and that is backing, rebuttal, and qualifier, right? So I'm going to give you the definitions and I'm going to give you an example so we can see how we can start applying these into your own argument, okay? So we'll start with the backing, right? So the backing is a response to the idea of the warrant, okay? It gives a specific example that helps prove the warrant correct, right? So these pieces of evidence or assumptions justify and support the validity of the warrant, okay? And answers exactly why the warrant is true, okay? So that is the backing. Now we have the rebuttal, right? The rebuttal essentially is a response to the counterclaim of your argument, all right? So it is also known as a naysayer or, again, a counter argument, okay? But it's a rebuttal. It's acknowledging the opposite side or the opposite end of your own claim and saying, yes, other people may believe this. Still, I believe this, okay? It's acknowledging that another opinion exists on your topic and you're still gonna stick with what you're saying, okay? Right, so that is the rebuttal, okay? It basically recognizes the limitations of your argument and helps boost your credibility as a writer, okay? It's saying, okay, well, you know, in other discussions, you know, this is the other opinion of the other party, okay, or the other end, right? The other end. Now we have the qualifier. Now this qualifier is pretty simple, okay? It lets you know how true a claim is, right? So there are some conditions in which your claim may either not be true or may be a little bit uncertain, okay? And that's when you start explicitly saying within your argument when your argument starts to kind of shift, right? Shift points and sides, all right? So that is the qualifier. Again, these definitions seem a little bit broad. It will make more sense towards the application, okay? So let's take a look at the application, right? So our last example, again, was about handguns and why handguns should be banned, all right? So taking a look at our example, it says, I think we should ban handguns in this country. There is no practical necessity to own a handgun. I understand that some people like to collect handguns and others use them for sporting purposes. But if you need to defend yourself, you can just as well use a shotgun. It is too easy to conceal a handgun, so I think we should ban them, right? So, taking a look at this argument, again, we are taking a look at our claim. Our claim is in green and it says that handguns should be banned, right? You see it in the beginning and you see it toward the end of the first triad, okay? So that is our claim. We want to take a look at the warrant, okay? Remember, the warrant is a part of the passage that is not explicitly stated. Again, those are the values that we're taking a look at with the particular argument in question, right? So one possible warrant that we mentioned before is that the government can ban dangerous things, okay? And a possible backing, again, the backing lets us know specifically why this warrant is true. So for this particular warrant, we're responding with a backing saying, okay, well, the government can ban dangerous things. And the reason why is because the government is well within their means and jurisdiction to ban things that could potentially cause harm to society. State, federal, and local governments have their own set of rules to govern their constituents, right? So that is one possible backing in response to the first warrant. Now the second warrant says small weapons are more dangerous and easier to conceal than bigger weapons, right? The possible backing for that one could be that according to a 2014 study conducted by Dr. James Fox, of 142 shootings found that 88, which is 62%, were committed with handguns of all types. you're responding to the warrant by giving a specific piece of evidence that lets you know why that piece is true. And what you're saying there is getting more specific with the discussion that we mentioned earlier, right? So that is the possible second backing, right? Now I want to get into the qualifier. Again, the qualifier responds to the claim, right? Setting limitations. And it says right here, possible qualifier could say that banning handguns in this country does not guarantee less violence, because there could possibly be a black market monopolizing handguns for people who still want to use or collect them, right? So again, the limitations, right? Taking a look at words that give a little bit of either inconsistency or a little bit of doubt, right? Saying that things could not guarantee or could possibly, right? So giving this doubt lets you know that there is a qualifier to your claim, right? And the last part is the rebuttal. And the rebuttal right here could say that, as we mentioned before, I understand that some people like to collect handguns and others use them for sporting purposes, right? Essentially what you have there is a response to your, a counterclaim response to your original claim, right? It's acknowledging the opposite side and the opposite opinion, but still letting people know that you are retaining your own position, right? And we use words such as but, yet, or however to kind of continue the rebuttal, right? Now, the Toulmin model is used for analyzing an argument that you're reading, okay? The specific purpose, again, is to see how arguments work and start analyzing them, right? Also keep in mind that writing is pretty flexible, okay? So when you're writing an essay, you want to make sure you organize it, but at the same time, know that not every single essay written in the Toulmin method will look exactly the same, okay? All right, so we might organize a 5 to 6 paragraph essay in the following manner. So take a look at this outline. Again, you don't have to follow it to the T, but you also want to make sure that you include the parts that we mentioned before from both triads, right? So we begin with the first possible paragraph, beginning with the hook, right? We want to have material to get the reader's attention, right? So it's the first thing that you're going to say. You want to make sure that you start with a bang, right? We can begin with an open-ended question to make the reader think, right? Open-ended questions let people kind of gather their thoughts a little bit more and meditate on the material versus saying a yes or no answer immediately, right? So for example, what would you do if the ban on guns was actually initiated in your county, right? So then you would start thinking or asking a little bit more regarding the question, right? Versus a closed-ended question would ask, do you think that guns should be banned or something like that? It just requires a yes or a no answer. So lean more towards an open-ended question to make the reader think, right? It could also be a quick story or an anecdote, a quote, or a joke, right? Basically, it's the first thing you want to make sure that the reader is interested immediately, okay? Hook them. The next part is the background information to introduce the problem or topic. Basically let people know, okay, well, this is the problem and this is the situation that we're about to discuss, right? So the hook should naturally lead into the background information, okay? Let people know exactly what they're about to read. Next, we want to introduce our claim, right? So for the first triad, we have the claim and the thesis, exactly, right? So your argument, what's your position? And then maybe you want to give some qualifiers that sort of limit the scope of the argument, right? So let people know, okay, this is the claim that I'm making, this is the argument that I'm making, and in certain situations, this claim can differ, right? Or there is some doubt with this particular claim, right? However, then you start getting to the data, the evidence, which is from our first triad, to support your argument or your claim, right? You have one piece of evidence, two pieces of evidence, or three, right? Depending on what the situation is and your particular claim, right? Next, we want to move over to the third paragraph and explore warrants, right? So let people know how the data is logically connected to the data that you presented earlier, right? So the warrant, with the first warrant, the second warrant, and possibly the third warrant, sort of the value system that you're using to kind of get into your own claims, right? Letting us know why everything matters, okay? Next, you want to get into some factual backing that shows that the logic used in the warrants is in good terms of realism, as in theory, okay? So the warrants that you included, you want to make sure you have backing for that, so get specific, right? Get specific as to why those warrants are indeed correct, right? And why they're your values in the first place, okay? And then you want to get into the next paragraph perhaps and discuss counter arguments, right? And provide a rebuttal. Many people have different opinions on different situations, so it's important to consider what they might say, and then you sort of just shoot down their idea and say, okay, regardless of what they're saying, you still maintain this idea, right? Nevertheless, and however, those pieces of transition phrases are important for rebuttals because they let you know that even though you understand a second point of view, you're still going to maintain your own situation and your own claim, right? And then you want to transition into your conclusion, all right? So your conclusion should be just as powerful as your introduction, right? It should be the paragraph that lets us know, so what? Okay, why do we care? Why did we read a whole essay that it was organized like this? Why does this conversation matter? Ask yourself those questions, right? Because those are the things that are going to let us know, okay, this is the reason why this whole argument is important to the reader personally or the viewer personally, right? Let us know the implications of the argument, like what does this mean for different situations or different people, and maybe just end on a high note, right? Let people remember, okay, you should consider this claim because of X, Y, and Z and how it could affect you personally, right? Many different ways of interpreting it, okay? And there you have it, everybody. You have the tools to not only write your own Toulmin method and model of argumentation, now you can start analyzing it so that you can build on those foundations and create the essay that sort of lets you finesse your analytical skills much better, okay? And that's pretty much it.